Right, so when any regular person asks me what laptop they should buy, I pretty much instantly point them towards the direction of the MacBook Air. Because there aren't many things that are wrong with it, and it'll just last you a super long time. Apple's laptops have been known for reliability for a while now, and I think that comes down to a couple main reasons. Firstly, I personally still think the MacBook Air has some of the best build quality in any laptop out right now. Like, other Windows laptops have come a long way, don't get me wrong, like Dell's XPS lineup, but I still just feel like when you pick up a MacBook, there's just something about the aluminium feel that's just like cold to the touch that just makes it feel like it's in a league of its own. The trackpad is S tier, something as simple as the hinge being really smooth and being pretty much just the perfect weight. These are things that most of us probably just don't think about. It's a bunch of small things like that that add up to make the end user experience way nicer. But there's obviously way more important things like the price to performance ratio, which has just been insane for a really long time now, and just gets better every time Apple releases an iteration on their custom silicon. Like the fact that I can edit these videos on a 16GB of RAM model of the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air. It's not like I'm doing any ridiculously complicated work when editing, but it's still nice to know that if you have a workflow that's slightly heavier like photo editing or video editing, that you don't need to spend a crazy amount of money speccing up your machine or getting the MacBook Pros. For the majority of people who just want to edit videos in like 1080p, the base model 16GB of RAM M2 MacBook Air is probably going to serve you pretty well. Battery life is also insane, just because of how efficient these laptops have gotten. I've been using this specific M2 MacBook Air around 2 years now, and battery life was insane back then. It's definitely taken a little bit of a hit because I kept it plugged in for so long, but it still lasts me a day at least. And if I'm doing a bunch of document editing and having things like Google Chrome open, then I'm confident it can last me at least 2 days on a full charge. Speakers on Apple laptops have been really good for a while now too, particularly on the 15-inch MacBook Air, which pretty much has the best speakers in any laptop that is in the same tier of thin and light Ultrabooks. And yeah, those are just a couple of the reasons why I recommend a MacBook Air to most people who just want a reliable option that's going to last them a really long time. But I want to compare the base model MacBooks in the form of the M2 and M3 MacBook Airs with some of the potential Windows laptop alternatives. So a quick run through of Apple's options first. You've got the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which is the one I've got here, starts at $1,000. And you've also got the 13-inch M3 MacBook Air, which starts at $1,100. And finally, the 15-inch M3 MacBook Air, which starts at $1,300. Alright, so the first Windows laptop competition I want to look at is the XPS 13, which when it came out, I genuinely thought to myself, this might be the next laptop I buy. And this is mainly because of the design, to be honest. It's just a sick, minimal looking laptop with a crisp OLED display. Now it does start at $1,500, which is a little pricier than the base M2 MacBook Air, but if you compare it to like a 12GB upgraded M3 MacBook Air, then it's pretty much in the same price category. They all have the Core Ultra processors with extra claimed AI capabilities, but I honestly wouldn't buy it for the AI features. Just know that it's a very well-performing laptop, and that if you want to play any really light titles on this laptop, you can. But as with the MacBook Air and any other laptop in this price category, don't expect to be able to do any crazy work on these thin and light laptops. But yeah, the key highlights with this laptop are the design and the display. Now I want to talk about what I think is a huge competitor for the MacBook Airs, and even probably the Pros because of how much value you're getting for the money here. And that's the Asus ZenBook S14 and S16. So it's meant to start at $1,400, and that's for the 24GB of RAM, 1TB of storage model, which is just insane. You get one of the best designs on a Windows laptop, which is basically on the same level as the XPS 14 that I just glazed so hard. It has an OLED screen, Ryzen HX 365, and a Radeon 880M, so it's going to handle normal workflows perfectly well, and it's going to breeze past any light video editing or light games you want to play. I think if you want a Windows laptop, but you keep getting told that the MacBook Air is the best laptop out there, I think you can easily buy this option and know you're getting a great laptop for the money. Because if you wanted to upgrade a MacBook Air to have anywhere near 24GB of RAM and 1TB of storage, you're going to have to expect to pay a lot more. Asus has another much cheaper alternative in the form of the ZenBook A14, which starts at only $899. Which isn't like a crazy budget laptop, but the point is, with this being a Windows laptop, it's going to come down in price a bunch months after its release. So I can imagine this laptop being a really, really good deal when it reaches like $600. The point with this laptop is that it's crazy light too. It weighs under a kilogram because they used a magnesium alloy on most components of this laptop. It does use a slightly less great chip to bring the price down. It has the Snapdragon X Plus. But to be honest, according to reviews online, it actually outperforms the M3 MacBook Air when you consider multi-core performance. And most people will definitely not need to upgrade to the higher-end X Elite chip if you're just doing normal tasks, which I'm assuming is most of the people who are watching this video. Generally, the design is a little bit subpar. It's still pretty premium on the outside, but when you open it up and see the matte bezels, you realize how they managed to keep the cost on this machine lower than their more premium S14 alternative. But again, for those who really want to save some money, I think this is a great option for the everyday users who just really want a Windows machine. I also want to talk quickly about the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7X, which basically sits perfectly in between the ZenBook S14 and the A14. It starts at $1,200, it's got a 14.5-inch display, same chip as the higher-end ZenBook A14, so the Snapdragon X Elite this time. And this laptop is known for its insane battery life compared to the rest of the market right now. It performs better than the M3 MacBook Air, and the design and display are really nice. I wouldn't say the design is quite on the level of the MacBook Air or like the XPS 14, but the display is definitely better because it is OLED and touchscreen. Right, now I obviously can't go over every single Windows laptop alternative out there. Those were just some of the big ones. But even after all those comparisons and raising the pros of all the other Windows machines on the market, I think I'm still going to stick to my default recommendation of just getting a MacBook Air. Specifically the base model M2 MacBook Air, because it now comes with 16GB of RAM at only $1,000. Now it is 256GB of storage, and I would recommend basically everyone to dish out an extra $200 for the 512GB model, just so it can last you a little longer without it being a pain in the ass. I do also think that a lot of people still like big laptops, and in that case they will be looking at the 15-inch M3 MacBook Air, which starts at $1,300, and in that case you're starting to get into the same price category as most of the Windows laptops we mentioned in this video, which to be fair makes all of those much more enticing. Just to wrap up some final thoughts, I want to give a couple warnings. Do not get a Chromebook. It's not going to last you particularly long, and you can't do much else other than just opening Google Chrome and watching YouTube. File management is a pain to handle. There are just so many reasons not to get one. I would recommend for the overwhelming majority of people to just get either a second-hand or refurbished, much better laptop. It's going to last you way longer. I also still don't recommend getting an iPad as your primary computing device. Some of the reasons are pretty similar to why you shouldn't get a Chromebook, to be honest, because of things like file management. Trust me when I say, whenever you're doing any computing task on the iPad, you are constantly going to be thinking about how much easier it would be on a proper laptop. Whether that's because the trackpad is too small, or because there's an app that's just not in the App Store. Only get an iPad if you really need the Apple Pencil, because it still is one of the best stylus experiences in any tablet. And even then, try not to make the iPad your main computing device. Because even if you wanted to, you would probably be getting a really nice keyboard case, maybe the Magic Keyboard case, and an Apple Pencil, and all of it is going to end up making that combination $200 to $300 more expensive than just getting a MacBook Air. But those are about all of my thoughts on the current laptop market. Let me know if there are any other questions you guys have right in the comments below. Yes, I did get this video idea from Dave2D. Huge thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed or found it useful. Make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.